Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Rukmini Dwakadish, Rukmini Dwakadish, Rukmini Dwakadish, Rukmini Dwakadish. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Varavajacharya Satarata Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Charger His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Varavajacharya Satarata Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Anantikori Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachar Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shami Kunara Kun Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Sri Mati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Sri Mati Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Garantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, text number 4 today. Tayo. Am I in the wrong? I guess I must be on the wrong verse. It's 5, right? It's verse 5. Okay. I got it. It's okay. I'll just read it off here. No problem. Wow. Text number 4. Okay, it should be interesting this morning. Is it 5? So this is 5? Okay. So this is it, 5, right? Okay. Tayo Samvadato Sutta Pavrita Hi Amala Kata Apo Ganga Ivaga Gnir Hare Padambujashraya Tayo Samvadato Sutta Pavrita Hi Amala Kata Apo Ganga Ivaga Gnir Hare Pradambujashraya Tayo Samavat Tayo Samvadato Sutta Pravrita Hi Amalakata Apo Ganga Ivaghagnir Hare Padambujashraya Tayo Samvadato Sutta Pravrita Hi Amalakata Apo Ganga Ivaghagnir Hare Padambujashraya Mataji's. Okay, synonyms. Tayo, while the two, Maitreya and Vidura. Samvadato, were conversing. Sutta, O Sutta, Pavritaha, arose. He, certainly. Amalaha, spotless. Kataha, narrations. Apaha, waters, Ganga, of the river Ganges, Eva, like, Aghagni, vanquishing all sins, Hare, of the Lord, Pada Ambuja, the lotus feet, Ashrayaha, taking shelter. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Shovarnika inquired about the conversation between Vidura and Maitreya. There must have been many narrations of the spotless pastimes of the Lord. The hearing of such narrations is exactly like bathing in the water of the Ganges, for it can free one from all sinful reactions. Purport. The water of the Ganges is purified because it pours forth from the lotus feet of the Lord. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita is as good as the water of the Ganges because it is spoken from the mouth of the Supreme Lord. So it is with any topic on the pastimes of the Lord or the characteristics of His transcendental activities. The Lord is absolute. There is no difference between His words, His perspiration, or His pastimes. The water of the Ganges, the narrations of His pastimes, and the words spoken by Him are all on the absolute platform, and thus taking shelter of any one of them is equally good. Srila Rupa Goswami has enunciated that anything in relationship with Krishna is on the transcendental platform. If we can dovetail all our activities in relationship with Krishna, then we do not stand on the material platform, but always on the spiritual platform. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shlaka Chakshu Umbilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Mancha Kalpatrubhyasya Kripa Sindhavivata Paritana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Okay, so we'll continue reading here the pastimes between Vidura and Maitreya. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada makes very valid points in terms of how everything in relationship to Krishna is absolute or non-different. And what kind of struck me about this particular verse is that Vidura searched out Maitreya to speak about the glories and the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to increase the flavor, the love of Krishna. And so this particular verse and the purport are very powerful in terms of how we see Krishna consciousness, or how we should execute Krishna consciousness. It's described, Shinvatam Svakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantastohi Abhadani Vidunoti Surit Satam. In this verse is described that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, He's a Paramatma in everyone's heart. And He's the benefactor. That's very important, the benefactor of a truthful devotee. And He cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of a devotee who has developed the urge to hear the messages of Krishna's messages, which are virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Very powerful. I looked up this word, virtuous. Virtuous means, I don't know, what was it? It's chaste. It means chaste. Yeah, chaste. And it's also, it has a lot of, flavor to it. It's excellent. It's the experience of excellence. And we see that in this particular verse, that word virtuous is very much in accordance with the pastimes of Vidura and Maitreya. They became virtuous in the heart by discussing more and more Krishna's pastimes with each other. That word chaste is very important too, because when you speak about Krishna, his activities and his name, one can become chaste from that activity of hearing and chanting about Krishna. So messages of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are none different from him. So when we are offenselessly glorifying Krishna, like in a temple room, when you glorify Krishna in an offenseless manner, it's understood that Krishna is there, present as transcendental sound. So there's no other means, actually, of elevating oneself from the lowest point to the highest in Krishna consciousness without devotional service and without hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by association of devotees. So Prabhupada gave us all of this in a package deal here. And Maitreya and Vidura are exemplifying the importance of that association. And because hearing about Krishna is the beginning of purified life. Yes, Punya Shravana Kirtana. It's the beginning of one's Krishna consciousness, because one becomes purified by hearing. And therefore, when one wants to discharge or get involved in devotional service, hearing and chanting are of the most important ingredients in making advancement and going forward. So when we become purified, it's Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Uchate. We become more and more purified. We become more and more enlivened. So when I was reading this particular purport and reading a few verses back and forth, I was thinking how Vidura, he went to a holy tirtha to search out Maitreya. And in previous verses, we read in purports, Prabhupada says that one should be very careful when one goes to a holy place or to a tirtha, because if you go there, one should actually search out a pure devotee of the Lord, a bona fide representative. Otherwise, one can become contaminated. So I was thinking that tirtha is actually the pure devotee of the Lord. That makes that tirtha. And then I was thinking even more how fortunate we are here in New Dwarka that we had Srila Prabhupada. He created this temple. He bought it. He purchased it. He installed the deities. He sat right there in that Vyasasan that you see right in that very spot. And he spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is like a tirtha, actually. I was even thinking more how sometimes there's devotees that come up to me and say, Svavasa, I'm going to go to India and I'm going to visit all the holy places and I'm going to get purified and I'm going to really be ecstatic and I'm going to come back and really be fired up and purified. And I was thinking, well, that's very nice. But sometimes the devotees that tell me that, I never see them in the temple room. It's funny, and sometimes some of them live across the street. And they said they're going to go all the way to India to go to a holy place. And they don't know if there's going to be a holy person there. But they're going to go and get purified. But really, all you have to do is take 25 steps. Go through the front door and pay your obeisances, and you're in a holy tirtha. And you have Sri Sri Rukmini Dwarkadish, Lord Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, Kornitai. This is a tirtha. And here you can find holy men, there's ladies. Yes, you can find right here. And so sometimes we become a little bit confused. Sometimes we forget, because when you're in a particular place all the time, you tend to take it kind of lightly. It's hard to always be focused. But the key element is to be constantly hearing and chanting, because that's the purification of hearing and chanting. So when we see Vidura, Maitreya together. They're discussing the pastimes. And the ecstasy becomes more and more intense. So the Krishna conscious movement from this particular temple actually expanded. A greater portion of it began here, and then it expanded from here. When Papa was here, he'd give classes, and he'd invite different leaderships around the country, around the world, to come to New Dwarka, learn the science of book distribution, of chanting, of deity worship, cooking. All this was right here, all of it. And at one time, this was the world headquarters. Can you believe it? It was the world headquarters of ISKCON, which is incredible. And Srila Prabhupada gave some of the more ecstatic conversations upstairs on the second floor in his room, where he translated Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita and gave that to us. So this particular place is a tirtha. And we see that if we are hearing and chanting properly, we'll begin to realize that this is really a holy place. And if we stay here and we worship and we do service, one can actually go back to Godhead from this particular place. You can go back to Krishna, back to Godhead. And we don't need to go all over the world. I mean, if you want to, you can, fine. But the main thing is that you can do it right here. And when I was reading this, I was thinking, wow, that is so great. Just think that we don't need to do anything. Everything is here for us. All the ingredients for us to become a devotee are here. The pastimes of Srila Prabhupada are real in this particular place. And I'm only stressing that because the tendency for us is to always look somewhere else, search someplace else, and maybe that's where I'll find Krishna consciousness. Whereas it's right in front of us. And all we need to do is just get up in the morning, walk across the street, and there you are. You're in a tirtha. And there you're chanting, you're hearing, you're seeing the beautiful form of the deity, and making advancement in Krishna consciousness. It's also said, Nastapraeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. Right? Nityam bhagavata sevaya. Here in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavati uttama shloka, bhaktir bhavati naistiki. Yes, so it's right here in front of us. And we see that by hearing the Bhagavatam, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, reading it, rendering service to the pure devotee of the Lord, all that is troublesome to the heart is practically taken away. All the trouble that we have, and we have so many difficulties, so many problems. You might say, I do know about problems. I've heard every kind of problem there can possibly be. Surprisingly, there's a few that come up that I thought, no, I can't believe it. So, just by the chanting of the holy name of Krishna, all these troublesome things that are within the heart are practically destroyed. A loving service is established in the heart of that devotee, and it's irrevocable. That's the potency of chanting and associating with devotees. It's so powerful. But we have to feel that we're here together and doing this activity together, that we're trying to encourage each other to make spiritual advancement, and not looking outside, but looking inside to see how we can all together chant nicely together in the temple, kirtan, worship the deity, glorify the deity, hear Srila Prabhupada. So the idea is that by that activity, you develop naishtiki. Naishtiki means firmly fixed. Firmly fixed. I'm firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness. That's naishtiki. And we may see, well, how do I get this? How do I become naishtiki, firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness? That's always the question And even Vidura was asking Maitreya, please help me become fixed in Krishna consciousness. That's all of us are thinking like that. How can I become fixed? And so, Ado Shraddha. Shraddha means faith. So, faith, that's an important factor here. How to develop the faith, how to get the faith that we need to execute our service and our vows in Krishna consciousness. So, this Shraddha, it reminds me of when I was, first time I ever met a devotee. I never forgot that day. To this day, I've been practicing Krishna consciousness for over 50 years. And still to this day, I remember when I met a devotee, very sweet young devotee in the streets of Denver, Colorado. And he looked like an angel. And we were walking along and he stopped us, my brother and I, Vyapi. And first thing he did, he shoved the book, Krishna book, right in my hand. And I looked at it and I went, whoa, that's the biggest book I've ever seen. It's almost as big as Moby Dick. So, yeah, so I wasn't into reading in those days, especially this kind of. But he kept talking to us, and we just kind of were trying to be respectful. But then something miraculous happened. In the course of this talking, he opened up the book, and he opened it up right there where George Harrison from the Beatles gave that introduction. And so up to that point, I was an atheist. But then as he opened that book and I saw the introduction, I said, oh, come on. If George Harrison's into it, I'm into it. If he likes this, I like it. So yes, so that was all it took. And George, what a magnanimous individual he is. How many people came to this movement because of him? Thousands, maybe even millions by now have come some kind of contact with Krishna consciousness. So from that, I got a little bit of faith, little fraction of faith, Shraddha. He said, come to the temple, bring some flowers with you. So we brought flowers. And we were very eager to meet this young man that approached us. So we get into the temple, and as we walked into the temple room, there was a huge kirtan going on. It was tumultuous. And there's a young lady that met us at the door and told us, what's going on. And we were asking, I don't remember the person's name, but we were asking for this person. And she said, well, I'm sorry, he's not here anymore. And we both became very despondent by that. Oh no, the guy that told us about George and the Krishna conscious movement is gone. And so we said, well, what happened to him? And this young lady said to us, well, he got caught smoking dope in the Tulsi house. And so they kicked him out. And then we were thinking, well, what's wrong with that? It shows you how low we were. We didn't think there was anything wrong with that. We kind of felt sorry for the Prabhu. But even though this person was not very pure, just by giving us the Krishna book, speaking to us a little bit about Krishna, we came to the temple and our faith increased. Immediately, there was an increase of faith because we had the faith to come. Oh, George, it's faith. And so we were excited. And I do remember that at that time, Vyapi and I were kind of but we were really in the modes. And we argued with the temple president, Kruk Setra. We were arrogant enough to start arguing with him. And it got to the point where they had to tell us to be quiet. So we were very rebellious. No, we can't do this. So the point I'm trying to make is that how important the temples are in the idea of increasing one's shraddha, one's faith in Krishna consciousness, and how powerful it is. What to speak of this particular temple, it's a tirtha. And So from that little spark of faith, it increases just by being in a temple. It increases, increases, increases. We have Dr. Matthew here, right? Yeah, this is Matthew. I spoke to him a few days back. He's like fired up like anything. He was saying he was just minding his own business and he came in contact with a devotee, gave him a book, and here he is. And he was saying that it was a miracle, right? Like it was opened up the light, right? Yeah. Now he just can't help but want to be a Krishna conscious devotee. Now you have a little bit more faith? Yeah. Faith is growing, isn't it? Yes. So this is the potency. And then after we get a little bit more faith, then you want sadhu sangha. You automatically, do you want the association of devotees now? Oh yeah, for sure. Sadhu sangha, by that association. And we ourselves have to be good association, because he wants association, we want association. All of us should be increasing our association and understanding of Krishna conscious life. Just like he's a new devotee, but he wants to be in association of devotees. And of course, it's important to come in contact with the pure devotee of the Lord. This is actually very, very important. Vasudeva, what's that? Sarva iti samahatmasa durlabha. Yeah. Yes. That if we actually come in contact with a pure devotee, what does that mean? One who's actually fully sold out to Krishna consciousness. One who's fully 100% in the Krishna consciousness. So with Matthew, we're going to give him a book. And that book is powerful enough because it's non-different from Krishna. Yes, we can give someone a book and they can open and read it, as we're reading here, that everything is non-different from Krishna. If we just give someone a book and we tell them a little bit about Krishna, boom, immediately it takes effect. So the books are extremely important in terms of spreading Krishna conscious movement. We may not be a pure devotee, just like that Bhakta that gave us a Krishna book. He blew by the time he left. But just by him giving me a Vyapya book, we're in Krishna consciousness. 50 years. So we're ever grateful to that young man for giving us this book in Krishna consciousness. So after sadhu sangha, what happens is that, like Matthew, sooner or later, or even Bhakti Kevin, yes, they're here, and they're associated with devotees. The next thing they want to do is bhajana kriya. What's that, bhajana kriya? They want to do service. They get attracted to service. By associating with devotees, they want to do something. What can I do? Matthew's asking me, what can I do? I'll do anything. Yeah. Bhajana kriya. From that association, the faith, the association, now the devotional service. Now we get to do something for Krishna. And when that happens, then anartha nivritti. By that service, the anarthas, unwanted things in the heart, are eradicated. Just when I became a new devotee, I had so many sinful desires. And by association of devotees and doing service, wow, they just went away. They just kind of disappeared. And that's why hearing and chanting are extremely important, because that hearing and chanting purifies, as we said before. Shinvantam Svata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. Yeah, the power of that activity. And it takes away automatically. You don't have to be struggling. You just have to constantly be chanting and doing some service. And then anartha nivritti. We lose interest of unwanted things. We lose interest. If you're a devotee and someone comes up to you, you want to eat some meat, you go, oh my God. You have no taste for it. It's not like, oh, it's just ugly. No. What? No way. And how does that happen? How in the world does that ever happen? Yes, by bhajana kriya, by service, by the more you serve, and serving means chanting, then you get rid of all these unwanted things. And it says that when you get rid of all these unwanted things, then naistiki, firm faith, you become powerful in your faith. And this is what's so important. And then gradually, nastapraeshu abadreshu, all the dirty things in the heart just become, they evaporate, they leave us. You don't even have to think about it. It just goes away. So these particular pastimes, hearing between Vidura and Maitreya, obviously their conversations were much more elevated than what I was saying today, obviously. But the purport is that in the end, we should nityam bhagavata sevaya. In the end, we should serve the pure devotee. And by that service to the devotee, there's two Bhagavats. There's the book Bhagavat, and then there's the person. And both need to be served. And for us, we should serve the spiritual master and his mission and his desire. And by that, becoming focused on that, fixated on that service, one can become purified. And the result will be Bhagavati Uttama Shloke, yes, Naistiki. You'll be fixated in the Krishna consciousness. Nothing will, distract you from the Krishna conscious activity. And there is a purificatory process when you are in Krishna consciousness, that it happens automatically. When I joined Krishna consciousness, I had no idea being here 50 years. I thought I'd be here for maybe a couple of years here or there, and then I'd be on my way. That was the way I was thinking. But then each day I said, okay, a couple of more days. And then, okay, a couple of more months. Okay, then another year. And then all of a sudden here it's 50 years. And there's nothing but mercy that comes by this activity of Krishna consciousness. But, we should understand that Krishna, he can't be understood by contaminated senses. Atashi Krishna namadi bhaved, na bhaved griyam indriyai, seva mukhe hi javado, swayam rupa kadam. Yep, Sparat, yes. No one can understand Krishna by these contaminated senses. We can't. We have to become purified. And the purificatory process is to hear and chant. And to see that we're living in a tirtha, that this is a holy place. And this holy place is sufficient for each and every one of us to be able to go back home, back to Godhead, without any difficulty whatsoever. Everything is here. We don't need to go anywhere, look anywhere, do anything else. Everything here is for us. And we should understand that the Bhagavad Gita is actually the science of God. And no one can become Krishna conscious simply by some mundane scholarship. So it's more than just mundane scholarship. One actually has to surrender to a spiritual master and get instruction and chant nicely, and everything will be okay. All right? Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. What? Oh. Yeah.